Hello, everybody. So this week I wanted to talk about the Augustus Rule. I have clients ask me about this every year. Um, so the Augustus Rule, and I couldn't find like any real specific articles to define it, what it really is. But the idea is that you can use up to 14 days of your personal residence for rent and not claim the income or not have those 14 days of taxable income is what it is. So it's a great you have to be a regular corporation basically or a corporation to be able to use it. So sole proprietors and single member LLCs can't technically use it. You'd be an S corporation, probably use it, I guess. Um, but yeah, the idea is that you can rent your personal home up to 14 days and not claim the income. So this would work great if like you posted your house on Airbnb for a 14-day short-term rental once a year, and whatever cash you made on it, you wouldn't have to pay taxes on it. That's kind of like the general idea. But typically when I have business owners ask me about it, I think they're confusing the Augustus Rule against the home office deduction, because the idea is that your business, and I think this is where the confusion is people get advice or they see a TikTok or something that says, oh, through the Augustus Rule, your business can rent your home for 14 days and you can get 14 days of rent or something. And I can see how that would work for like a traditional corporation. Let's say like you have a traditional corporation, a C corp. Well, in a C corp, all your money is locked into your corporation somehow, and however you pull it out, you're going to get taxed on it. So whether you take it out in dividends, you're going to owe dividend, probably qualified dividend income tax. If you take it out in W-2 wages, that creates income tax on your side, and then you owe Medicare and Social Security tax on it. And then the third way is through rent. You can take money out through rent. So like you typically what happens is you have what's called a self-rental. You buy the real estate that your corporation then rents from you to house the employees or whatever. And so those are the three ways you can really pull money out of a traditional C corp. So I could see like how the Augustus Rule would work for that, because like your corporation could pay you rent to use your house because you hosted like a corporate party or something for your employees at your house, right? And so you could transfer some cash from your traditional corporation to you personally without having to pay any income taxes on it. That would be a great way to do that. To do that, rent has to be fair market value. It has to be documented. You can't take expenses towards it. But it would result as like rent expense on your C corp. You get cash out of your C corp without having to pay additional taxes on it. Now, the reason why this doesn't really work for single member LLC sole proprietorships or S corporations is because really, and a lot of times we're like, the cash isn't locked in your company. So you could take 14 days of rent to your home, but you can't take any expenses to it. So like a sole proprietor and a single member LLC is taxed as a sole proprietorship unless it's made an election to be an S corporation. And it doesn't work for that because you are your business. Like your business can work from home, but you can't rent property from yourself to yourself, right? It violates a lot of like tax code, business law. Like you can't take cash out of one hand and put it in the other hand and say you have income or expense, like because you still have the cash in both hands. It went from one of your personal bank accounts to another personal bank account. So there's no taxable transaction there. Versus like in a corporation is a legally separate entity from you. Now, an LLC, and this is where things get really complicated because in business law is different than tax law. So an LLC in business law is a separate entity from you. But for tax law, it's not, unless you've made an election to have it treated as separate from you, which makes it an S corporation. Well, then in an S corporation, it's still a pass-through entity. So yeah, you end up with cash leaving your S corporation and going to you, which doesn't result in taxes. But you can honestly, like there's better ways to do that that's more beneficial than the Augustus rule. Because the Augustus rule says I move cash from my business, my S corporation, to me personally. It was rent expense because we used my home for 14 days, and now I don't have to report income on that cash or taxable income on that cash, and it's an expense on my S corporation. Yeah, I can see how that sounds great, but you can't take expenses against it. And the moment you do that, now you can't have a home office. And so the better way to do it is to say, okay, I am going to have my corporation rent office space for me to use my home for work purposes. And that's how that works. Is like, so, and that's typically what we do is we say, okay, we have a home office. We are taking, so we have revenue, rental income from the corporation to you personally, but we're going to then also take expenses against it. And so really what happens is you end up with a much larger expense on your S corporation by claiming a home office deduction instead of using this 14-day limited move some cash from the corporation to you personally without being charged taxes on it. If you're just trying to move cash, take a dividend. S corporation dividends aren't subject to income tax or self-employment tax or Medicare and Social Security tax. So it's definitely better to, if you need cash, just take a dividend. If you're trying to lower taxes, you're actually better off using a home office deduction than the Augustus rule. So I'm not saying like I said, a lot of people ask about the Augustus rule. I'm not saying it doesn't have its place. What I'm saying is I think there's some confusion between what the Augustus rule actually is and how it would be beneficial. And so just keep that in mind when you're watching TikToks or you see different tax strategies. Yeah, there is a place for the Augustus rule, but for most of my clients, it's better to take a traditional home office deduction. We don't want to negate the home office deduction because we think the Augustus rule would be beneficial. I hope that clears up some confusion. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or shoot me an email. Thank you.